Well, greetings. Okay, so let's pause a moment and run through the basics of constructing a figure. All right. Now, when you put up your Christmas tree in December, a Christmas tree is sort of basically just a shrubbery inside the house. And it doesn't look like a whole lot until you start decorating it with Christmas ornaments, strings of, some people still use strings of popcorn, tinsel, and some sort of a star on the top, an angel, and ornaments from the Hallmark store, and maybe some little music box type things and figurines. And it starts to look like something. How about that? Okay, so when you do a figure, you also start with real basic shapes. You start with your basic, and then you go toward the particular. Now, your head is kind of like a ball. We're not going into anatomy here. This is strictly the very simple stuff because we just want to come up with something to put on a page. And the rest of the stuff, I know I keep saying this, but it's true. The rest of the stuff will come in time. If you stick with it. That's the trick. Stick with it. Okay, so anyway, the head is like a ball. A body is like let's say a bar of soap. And then you stick some tubes on the thing to make your arms and legs. You see, I'm doing this now because in the last little installment, I sort of whipped off a little action figure, a couple little action figures, and I realized that some of you can't just toss that stuff off because you've never practiced it. So that's why I'm going through this a little bit now. Put a couple more little balls on the ends of the arms to make the hands, and then the feet. I might as well connect the head to the body with a neck. How about that? Okay, so here's basically our Christmas tree / figure. Now, it doesn't look like much, but then you start decorating. And instead of Christmas ornaments, we will decorate this thing with a nose. Maybe figure out some sort of wild kind of hair that we want to put on him. We'll give him, how about some big creepy eyes? Put a couple of little lines under his eyes. You see, so you're just sort of kind of thinking about what kind of stuff you want to stick on here to make a new character. We'll give him these oddly shaped ears that look like door handles. Then we'll refine the shape of his head. You see, this stuff that we do in the first place, that's all just guidelines. But let's see, we'll give him a pointed chin. And then what about the mouth? We'll give him a tiny little mouth. Kind of looks like something. Maybe we want his hair to be a little darker, so we'll draw some of that. These lines. I'm not going to draw every hair on his head, but we can put a few lines here and there, and that'll suggest all the hair that's going to be there. Now, we're going to give him some sort of a shirt, so we'll start with a collar like so. There's your collar, the neck coming out of it. Maybe give him a pocket and one of those little alligators on the pocket. And the shirt will hang down. We'll make it short sleeves. Short shirt sleeves. And then how about baggy pants? Baggy pants. this is my choice. Now you can do whatever you want with your own drawing. And put a little more detail into the shoes. The shoes maybe have those things on the front, the protectors, soles, and some maybe Velcro fasteners. You don't have to go into perfect detail. All you have to do is suggest the detail, and then the person who's looking at it, their brain sort of fills in whatever's missing. You just sort of have to lead that person by putting in enough to suggest what's going on. Now there's our skinny arms. Hands. Now, hands. Hands. In my classes, the dreaded hands. People have told me that they have trouble with hands. The downfall of many a fledgling artist, and I can understand why. Your hands are complicated little pieces of machinery. But start it simple. Well, there's some sort of like a disc here, and then stuck to a tube. And then we know that most people have 4 fingers and a thumb. The fingers tend to go in one direction, and the thumb goes off on its own way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's your thumb. All right. So it's starting to look like a hand already. Let's see, I really wanted to do the underside, so we'll pretend that this is the right hand. Okay, so once you've got this part, then you can start filling in details. You see that the fingers sort of 1, 2, 3. There's 3 segments there. And it doesn't just stick out like a balloon like that. There's some sort of direction to it. It tends to curl in. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Maybe a suggestion of these folds here. And then this thumb, which sort of the folds there, it doesn't really bulge out like a disc. It sort of tapers off into the wrist. And now we get to the thumb. It's sort of a tricky customer. The good thing about drawing hands is you've got one handy. Handy, get it? You can study it. It's always right there at the end of your wrist, so you can look at it and see what the heck it's doing. When you're doing a cartoon like this, it's simplified even more. You can you don't have to put in, even these few little wrinkles, too much detail. And for our purposes here, but once you learn the tricky parts, then you can simplify it down. So it's worth studying. Now look, I sort of made these fingers all the same length, but when you look at an actual hand, you can see that it follows sort of a wave. So you can make that adjustment on your drawing too. And on the flip side, you've got of course, your fingernails. And then you've got little wrinkles going on there. Well, they're not wrinkles, they're folds. Wrinkles are for old people, not young people like me. Folds. So anyway, start with the basics and go to the particulars. Very basic shapes. When you look at a figure or an object, try to imagine what are the basic shapes hidden inside it. Then draw those shapes. Circles, cones, tubes, discs, cubes. Look for those hidden shapes inside. Put those shapes down on paper and then decorate them like a Christmas tree and see what you come up with. So that is the trick for today. Okay, bye boys and girls.